right, Dan LeBatard, highly questionable, ESPN Radio. And let me start with the poll question, Danny. You can have tickets to 6 or 7. What would you take?
Yeah, it's a great question because you've got to take the guaranteed game because if you go to Game 6 and it loses, you've denied yourself Game 7, but you could go to Game 7 and lose that too. You know what I mean? Like, you could go to Game 7 as a Boston fan and lose that. It's one of the worst experiences of your life. Take the Game 6, and you got bonus. You can watch Game 7 at home.
Clear up something for me because I think you said this yesterday, that you would not walk Big Papi first inning. Let's say first base is open. Let's say I got Pedroia at second. Big Papi comes up. You would not walk him. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think you can live scared. It's a game of failure, and even at Barry Bonds' best season, he's failing half the time in terms of on-base percentage. You don't give a guy first base when, you know, you're factoring in. Have you seen how many infield singles Ortiz has in this series? It's ridiculous. He's got like 3 or 4 infield singles. Like, I understand that you fear him, but you can't fear him so much that in a series where it's been hard to come by base runners, you're going to put one of their base runners on for free, even if it's Papi.
Well, but also runs hard to come by. He can't hurt me at first as much as he can hurt me at the plate.
He scored. No, he scored on a sacrifice fly to tie one of these games that started on first, right?
Well, he can do more damage at the plate than he can on first base. And I don't care about my ego of walking Big Papi to put him. I'm playing the odds here. I don't want to give him a chance to beat me in a game where maybe there's only 2 or 3 runs. And the fewer times he gets a chance to do that, the better my odds are, in my opinion.
But they've got the number 1 offense in baseball. It's not just because of Big Papi. Like, you put him on base, you're giving the number 1 offense in baseball more base runners. Like, I mean, I understand that he's the most feared guy in the lineup, but, you know, numbers regress usually. You know, I mean, I know he's not Danny Green in the finals, but Danny Green went 5 games without, you know, made all his threes, and then in Game 6 and 7, you know, you can't keep shooting a 70 and 80% clip, and especially in baseball, you can't keep hitting 800. Like, eventually those numbers are going to rectify themselves, but they're not in terms of on base percentage if you keep walking him.
Yeah, I don't mind in the first inning of doing it because I don't want them to get ahead. I don't want them to get to their bullpen. You know, I'm going to take the chance of somebody else does the damage. I always want to take away your best player, whether it's double teaming Kobe with the game on the line or LeBron, whoever it is.
You live in fear. You live in fear.
No, I live in the real world. I want a ring, and that's where I want to play the percentages. I take my ego. I take the actual feelings out of it that I'm just trying to win. And I'm Big Papi at first. I'll take my chances. In the first inning, I'll do that.
You're going to walk him in the first inning?
If I need to. If there's a man on second, yes, I will.
Okay, if there's a man on second and no outs?
Yes. Danny, I get a force out at every bag there. I got a double play ball. I'm going to play the odds there.
The odds are that Big Papi will make an out. Those are the odds.
Well, you can say, well, he's batting 700, so now he's due to make an out. I'm not ready for that. I'll take my chances. I'll put Big Papi on, and then I'll live with my ego and pride.
You manage the game, and you pitch the game with uniform pants soaked in urine.
And I'm going to have a ring. I'll have stained uniform and a ring.
You don't know you're going to have a ring.
Yes, I will.
Everybody pitched. Barry Bonds, they pitched him that way. They pitched him that way throughout the World Series and the playoffs the year that he was having the crazy playoffs, and he came within one. We came within one pitch of making one game of winning the title. I understand what you're saying. I just don't like playing baseball that way.
He's Dan LeBatard from the Mothership. All right, sources close to me tell me you took a little jab at me about my Des Bryant comment after hearing what you were saying about athletes being honest. So can you sum up what you said about Des Bryant, why you had a problem with my comment?
Well, I made you the beautiful face of the entire sports media.
Thank you.
And the beautiful voice of the entire sports media, because I was objecting to what we were doing for 24 hours in general with Des Bryant. You know, we want these guys to care enough that they risk paralysis on every play, that they give up, half their finger to play in the game. We want them to care like that, but we don't want them to care so much that when they yell at teammates, we're going to get angry about that. And so what I was objecting to specifically, though, is when the tape came out, because the media and fans generally tend to be really bad at accountability. We want our athletes to be accountable, but we're terrible at raising our hands and saying, hey, you know what, we were wrong about that. When the audio came out of Dez, he wasn't angry, he was excitable in that audio. In the audio that we heard, immediately, instead of saying, hey, look, maybe we got this one wrong, maybe we're a little hard on Dez, maybe we made it into male, soap opera in a way that wasn't necessary in a game of violence on Sundays with what we're watching. When it's so crazy what we're watching, we made it about the male soap opera. Instead of apologizing, what we did is we moved the line, and we said, no, show me the tape with Witten. Show me the tape with Witten. And then if we had tape with Witten in which he was excitable instead of angry, then we would have said, well, you can't leave that perception. You can't do that. So we just keep moving the line so we can be less and less accountable. And we do this all the time in sports. LeBron and Manning and A-Rod, they were guys who couldn't win the big one. And then when they won the big one, we didn't raise our hand and say, whoa, I was wrong about that one. We just moved to Carmelo Anthony, Tony Romo, and Dwight Howard. We just moved. So in this instance, we were given proof that Des Bryant was just excited. He wasn't angry and out of control. And we said, no, give me more proof.
Yeah, but you're making me the face of it. So you're generalizing about the media, but using me to generalize instead of analyzing what I said specifically. So you're not being fair.
That's right.
So you're not being fair.
You didn't want to be the face of the media? What's wrong with you?
No, because I have ripped Brady when he ripped his young wide receivers. I championed Des Bryant before anybody in the national media did. When he got screwed by the NCAA for lying about a lunch with Dion, I stood up for the kid. And I said the greatest achievement is that he made it to the NFL considering his background. So what he does and how he plays, I'm fine with all of it. But if I look at one piece of video and say, oh, that exonerates him, it'd be like saying I got one great witness here, and that witness says, no, he didn't do it. Now I want to look at the other two witnesses, and I want to hear what they have to say. So I have to take all of the video and audio. If I'm going to have one piece, I should get all of it. If DeMarcus Ware has to separate Des Bryant from Jason Witten, tell me that Des is being a great cheerleader and positive, so much so that they've got to separate the two. I can't buy that. The other stuff with Romo, I'm absolutely wrong with that. But you know what? Rodney Harrison and Tony Dungy, who coached and played, said the same thing. You still don't want those histrionics on the sidelines, even though he was passionate.
I understand what Rodney Harrison and what Tony Dungy are saying, but I also understand that none of the Cowboys were saying that, Dan. Not a one of them. Not a one of the guys who plays with Des Bryant or was at was in the face of all of that. You didn't hear that from one of them, and we did not care.
Witten didn't even talk, Dan. Witten didn't talk after the game. If there was something so positive about it, why wouldn't Jason say, my bad, or you know what, he just gets so excited, I'm trying to calm him down?
He said that the next day, Dan.
But he didn't say it. He disappeared from the media. He bolted after the game. Why?
Okay. Well, you could read into that if you're a detective, I suppose, but they just lost a pretty crushing game. A lot of guys do that after a loss. I don't know what was said between Witten and Des Bryant, but if they were angry in that circumstance, Dan, I would certainly understand it. Like, of course, they're giving their bodies to the cause. They get 16 weeks. They lose in that crushing of fashion. There was one guy who was behaving like he looked like he was out of control, but nobody on that sideline as it was happening seemed to bother them. I mean, it was happening for a long time, and it didn't seem to bother them until the very end when Witten seemed to be shaking Des Bryant and saying, hey, there are 12 seconds left in this game. We can still win. We're down. We win with a field goal. Pay attention.
I love the fact that Des Bryant is asking for accountability because that's the problem with the Cowboys. There's no accountability. I want somebody to hurt. I want them to cry. I want it to mean something. There should be pain. Problem is, Cowboys get into this situation, and it's not coincidental. It's habitual. And I think Des Bryant is saying, what are we doing? Let's keep fighting. We got them down. I got my foot on their throats. Continue to do it. I love that from the kid. I worry sometimes where, and I don't know if it's just, us looking. There's a reason why a camera is on Des Bryant. I mean, let's be honest. Jerry Jones 14 months ago said he had a hard time even wanting to talk to Des Bryant with the domestic abuse and stuff off the field. He's somebody who is great theater there. On the field, off the field, I understand all of those things. The conversation with Tony Romo, absolutely. Now we have audio. I was wrong in looking like he was undressing Tony Romo. The other stuff, I would just like to hear it just to be able to be fair to the entire situation. That's all.
I was wrong.
Oh, yeah, but I have no problem with that. I have no issue with saying I'm wrong or I don't know.
I feel like I should celebrate this, though, not because you don't have an issue with it, but the media is very bad at that.
No, but you know what? If you admit you make the mistake, I take the weapon from the people who want to continue to bang on you, and I have no problem with that. Plus, I have a wife and 3 daughters at home, so I have to admit I'm wrong even when I'm not wrong, Dan.
Which is what I feel like you just did to me. You just did that trick. I feel like you just did that to me.
No. I was wrong in that piece of video. Absolutely. But if it comes back where he is saying something to Jason Witten and DeMarcus Ware, then it's different. But in that moment, absolutely. Overreaction? Absolutely. Did we factor in Des Bryant personality in there? Probably so. A diva wide receiver doing that? Absolutely. Fair, absolutely. No problem with that whatsoever.
Well, I could lob something else. I could lob something else into this discussion on my way out the door that would make for an interesting conversation, although it has some landmines in it.
Are you going to throw race in there?
Well, if Jason Witten behaves that way, do you think it's received the same way?
But
do you think it feels the same way?
Does Jason Witten have a history of doing this?
No. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't ever have to be just race. It could be a bunch of things and race. I mean, Des Bryant has plenty of history. The babysitter, needing a babysitter, and he's got plenty of history outside of race. But I'm saying, who's the out of control white guy? Who is
Tom
the white
Brady?
guy ever?
And Tom Brady got ripped by me. But not
like this.
No, Tom Brady doesn't have a
news cycle. It's your entire Monday.
Danny, Tom Brady doesn't have a history of this, and he's the leader winning championships. Des Bryant doesn't have anything on his resume. Brady has been afforded that luxury. If Jason Witten had a habit of this, I'd rip him too.
But you're absolutely right, Dan. But it can be all of those things and race. Like you're right. It's three rings. It's Tom Brady doesn't have a history of being out of control. But I don't believe that the white guy exists who, when he is furious like that on the sidelines, that he doesn't get fiery, leader, passionate versus out of control and scary. Like I think that disconnect is an interesting one to examine.
If Russell Wilson did this or RG3 or Josh Freeman, I'd have no problem with it whatsoever if they were being a leader on the team as the quarterback. But you know what?
What if Cam Newton did it?
You know what? If that's who he is, trying to be a leader, he's been goofy. So I'd like for him to be a leader like that. I don't have any problem with it. But if you're wrong, like Brady was wrong. I got to go. Paulie's saying I have to shut up.
All right. Good conversation, though. It's a good conversation.
All right, buddy. Tell Stu Gatz I said hello. Thank you, man.
Say hello to Ann Company for me.
All right. Thank you. Dan LeBatard of the Mothership.
The Dan Patrick Show. Weekday mornings on Audience.